welcome to Development Heaven. I am your best friend, Vincent Bernard Marinelli.
And I am your bookworm, Glenn Cagle.
It's a design podcast where the two of us talk about development hell and all the changes your favorite piece of media go through. This week we are doing a fan-submitted suggestion. But first, I want to address the fact that, Glenn, last week we established you are in prison.
Yes. Well, what? Huh?
I'm calling you through the prison phone.
The prison phone, yes.
So if you want to look to your left, out the window, I'm
waving.
Yeah, I've fogged up the glass on your. I've drawn a little penis on it.
That's cute.
So anyway, I'm busting you out. No need to make a whole big thing about it, but just
okay.
So come with me.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be really quiet.
Did you break the glass? Like how am I? What?
I bent the metal bars.
Yeah.
Those big metal bars. I bent them.
So big.
And now you
strong.
can crawl through.
Okay. You're gonna or alternatively through the prison phone you could email me a wrench, like they emailed a wrench to space.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what I'll do with the wrench.
You can bend the bars.
Now I have one. I'll bend the bars with the wrench.
All right, cool. The face tattoos are interesting. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I just met a really nice guy. He's a tattoo artist in prison, and he, gave me a good deal.
It'll cause something of an issue for branding. I think we might have to update our art, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right?
All right, yeah.
So
when it
anyway,
becomes an issue.
We're running from the cops now for the rest of the episode.
For the rest of our lives.
I brought my microphone and your microphone, so
we're running with lapel mics.
Mm.
And so if you hear any flapping, that's just...
Well, they won't hear that because we're really good at editing.
That's just our wings as we take off. We have nothing to lose but our chains, Tavarish.
Well, Glenn, this week it's a fan-submitted topic. So we are doing book adaptations, book-to-film adaptations. And that was suggested by Joseph Parmesan on our Discord. So if you have any ideas that you want us to cover, reach out to us. Our Discord is linked. You could email us, tweet us, whatever. So thank you to Joseph.
Thanks, Joe. I love you.
We have a lot of good fan topics, I think. Well, a lot of people want us to talk about books, so we'll try to get to all of them.
A lot of people
Glenn,
seem to latch onto that one.
Yeah. You have had nothing but time to come up with who goes first this week. So
when you have a book.
Yes, I do that.
I'm gonna get a book off my bookshelf,
okay.
And then I'm gonna drop it open right over here, and you're gonna say a number.
Oh, Price is Right rules. So
Price
the page
right,
it lands on.
Whoever gets
Okay,
closest without going higher.
Right. Okay.
All right. I've got a 100% legitimate and real book right here. You can hear it. Should I tell you how many pages the book has, so at least we're in the same ballpark? Or
yes.
Okay, the book has exactly, and it's real poetic. This is the Game Maker's Companion, which I've talked about on the show before. It has 415 pages.
Okay, I will say 207.
All right, I am gonna go 289. All right, ready?
Yeah.
I'm dropping. Oh, it didn't even open. Look at that. It opened to 191.
So we both lose
We
then.
both went over.
Well, you went the highest, so I guess I haven't seen The Price is Right in a while. You should go first.
All right,
because you went the ballsiest.
I went something like that.
Okay.
All right. Well, today I'm talking about I'll just go out and say it. The world's best-selling science fiction novel.
Oh, yeah?
Dune.
Okay, cool.
By Frank Herbert.
Yep.
It's Herbert, right? It's not Herbert.
Haven't looked it up. It spells like Herbert.
Yeah. I'm going to say Herbert. If I'm a stupid American, then just use a text-to-speech to put Herbert over every time that I said Herbert.
I promise I will.
Okay. He wrote it in 1963, quite a ways ago, but one of the reasons that it's the best-selling science fiction novels of all time is because it was sort of it happened right at the beginning of that sort of like ecological social change movement. Actually, Earth Day was founded. Let me look up the date for this.
Okay.
Earth Day was
Hey, how's he
founded.
doing? How's old Herbie doing? Is he
I
still
don't think
kicking it?
No, he's dead.
All right.
Earth Day. In 1970 is when the first Earth Day was celebrated, and what's the name of that other one?
Arbor Day?
No, not Arbor Day. No, not another holiday. It was another book that was published around the same time, Silent Spring. That was 1962 by Rachel Carson, and it was kind of cited as like paving the way for ecology in science fiction.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So sort of that was the first time the public was kind of looking at like, this is where our society is going to go if we don't protect the environment. Which is interesting because that's not really what Dune's about, but it is something that Herbert focused on because he was an ecologist. He was not only an author, but an ecologist himself. He studied dry ecology, basically the ecology of deserts, and how you can keep Dune. And like he spent a lot of time in, out west in the United States, studying the sand dunes and how they move and change and like can literally swallow people up under the ground. He actually spent 5 years doing research on the sand dunes and writing the novel in total.
Damn. I never knew that. But I'm reading Dune right now. That makes a lot of sense. Like he writes as though he were an ecologist.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't expect to find that out about him either, but I think it's pretty cool. Then I don't know if you read the dedication in the front of the book, but it's actually dedicated to all the dry ecologists, and like he's like, man, y'all got a tough job. Like basically is what he says. Yeah. Interestingly enough, the book was published originally as separate episodes in the Analog magazine, and not as a cohesive novel. Yeah, which is weird, right?
It's a really long novel. That must have been a long-running magazine.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. People seem to like it enough. They eventually published it as a novel. So there you go. But we're talking about specifically the film adaptations, right?
Right. The David Lynch one.
David Lynch one happened in 1984. There was a 2000 series on Sci-Fi, and a few other failed attempts at making an adaptation, and then finally, the upcoming 2020 Denis Villeneuve adaptation.
We assume 2020.
We assume that he says. I mean, it's scheduled to be released in 2020.
Yeah. As
of the recording of this, we don't know. Of course, there have been a few computer games and board games. Actually, get this. This is a little fun fact that is really shocking to me. Dune 2, the 1992 RTS video game, is apparently one of the most influential RTSs of all time.
Okay.
I didn't know that, which is why I wrote apparently in my notes. But upon doing more research on it, it turns out that Dune 2 actually set the precedent for how RTSs would work. It's like sort of the Dune 2 formula is what all other RTSs have been using.
So
sort of like how the Banjo-Kazooie
elaborate.
Well, sort of like how the Banjo-Kazooie format is how all other collectathons go, and sort of like Mario is kind of like set the precedent for platformers, I guess. Dune 2 set the precedent for the controls and the gameplay flow, of RTSs, or real-time strategy games. So yeah, what was it? Warcraft was the one that came like right after it.
Right. Okay.
Not World of, but the Warcraft series that eventually gave way to the universe of World of Warcraft. Wild. Good. You learn something new every day, I guess.
Yeah. Was the game
especially watching this show?
The game was called Dune 2?
Well, there was also Dune 1, but apparently it wasn't an RTS, or it didn't have all the same. It wasn't nearly as polished.
Right.
Yeah. No, it had a subtitle in other things, but eventually just became known as Dune 2. Yeah, kind of wild. Oh, hey, do you want to know something really weird?
Okay.
The company that originally published the novel, like on its own as a standalone novel rather than a magazine, was called Chilton Books, and up until that point, they had only ever published auto repair manuals. And this novel is the best-selling science fiction novel of all time.
It was a gamble.
Yeah.
It was a gamble. That's so weird, man.
But it paid off, dude.
Where's the connection?
None. Cause,
Do you think the guy was just a fan of the magazine?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it'd be interesting to find out if Herbert approached them or if they approached Herbert about this.
Right, yeah.
Because if so, why did you pick them?
Yeah.
Maybe he just knew the guys that worked there.
Maybe he repaired a lot of automotive vehicles.
Maybe. Jack of all trades, I guess. Yeah. Let's talk about some films.
Okay.
That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Film adaptations. So
That's
the first
what the
time
title says.
Yeah, something like that. So the first time this book was ever going to get turned into a film was in 1971, which was math 8 years after the book was written, or book was published. It was a company called Apjack International that got the rights for it. Interestingly enough, the the head of this company is a guy by the name of A.P. Jacobs. So it's literally just like his first initials and the first three letters of his last name. Apjack.
Well, not everybody can be as good at naming things as us, I guess,
as
right?
Lucasfilms.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jacobs, he was busy. He was actually doing Planet of the Apes 2 at the time. So he got the rights for Doom, but he put it on the back burner because he wanted apes to do well. And so about a year later, they started looking into it. He wanted a guy named David Lean to direct it. That's the guy that directed Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, this
Old
guy's
school.
got like 7 films in the British Film Institute's top 100, 3 of which are in the top 5.
Okay.
So I can see why he wanted him, but I have to assume that this guy had no idea who Apjack was, or didn't care, because he immediately turned down the offer.
I mean, directors usually don't want to touch, at least in the past, wouldn't want to touch something like Dune.
Yeah, that makes sense. It ruined his perfect record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. They got some other directors. Then they were planned on shooting, beginning the shooting in 1974, which, as you know, is 3 years after it started, so already delayed. Yeah. But Jacobs actually died in 1973. So I guess they didn't want to proceed without him. I don't know. So they just halted production.
Yeah,
in December
if he was the driving force, then yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I feel like if you had a good enough director or the right director, then they would be passionate enough to keep working on it. But
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. In December of 1974, a French consortium purchased the rights. So they got this guy named Alejandro Jodorowsky to direct it. He hadn't done anything that I really recognized, but it was a lot more like experimental stuff.
Out there.
For example, he wanted to make Dune a 10-hour feature film starring his own son Brontis.
Oh, come on.
He also cast...
You can't, I mean... If you're gonna do that, you can't be so obvious about it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. He also cast Salvador Dali and Mick Jagger.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, an all-star cast over here.
Yeah, famously good actors.
Right. Dali demanded $100,000 an hour. This guy's like, I don't, the surrealist artist, not even an actor,
right,
is demanding $100,000 an hour, and Jodorowsky is just like, yeah, okay.
I mean, he probably has the chops. You don't know.
I guess. But get this. He planned to get all of his filming done in 1 hour. He was like, yeah, we can pay you $100,000 an hour, but we're going to do it, all your filming in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm. That's sneaky.
Sneaky. And then he was like, yeah, for all the other scenes, all the scenes we can't get done in that 1 hour, we'll just use a mannequin.
Oh, man.
So,
that sounds like it would have been a really good movie.
Already cursed.
I would have really liked to see that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's rough out there. It's really rough. Yeah, all the music was right in the same vein. It was all like experimental and prog rock. By Bland, and each one of the bands, it was one of those bands that's like experimental prog rock but like every single member of the band has like a classically trained background. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They also got H.R. Giger to join the pre-production unit.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been really sick, right?
Had Alien come out at this point?
No, not yet. This was
Wow, all right.
This was in 1974.
Damn.
So yeah, this would have been like probably Giger's big burst onto the film scene.
Yeah.
Which eventually it was Alien that propelled him into the public light that way.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Giger, so they've got this like what is it, motley crew of like just all the best experimental artists out there working together. What could go wrong? What did go wrong? Dali was apparently all for this guy named Franco that was starting a rebellion in or I don't know, in charge of a rebellion in Spain.
Oh.
And Giger said in an interview that Dali was invited to leave because of his pro Franco statements.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't really know much about any of that, but they just can't seem to do anything right, can they?
No kidding.
So by 1976, they've been working on this for like 2 years. Herbert flies over to Europe, the author, and he wants to check up on them, right? He finds out that $2 million of their $9.5 million budget had already been spent in just the pre-production.
Oh, no.
It's been 2 years.
And they haven't shot anything.
They haven't shot anything. They don't have a script.
No.
Barely have a script.
They just have a bunch of artists sitting around in a circle and breathing into each other's mouths. Yeah.
How cool would it be if blank?
Wow. They're just having fun. Let them have fun.
Honestly, yeah. We're spending $2 million to have fun. This French consortium is probably just like freaking out at this point. Yeah, so when they finally did get a script turned out, it was 14 hours long.
Oh man, that's even longer than he said it would be.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna keep it down to 10 hours this time, guys.
I'm really trying. I really am. But if we lose 1 minute of this big old worm, I'm gonna be pissed.
Herbert said in an interview that the script was the size of a phone book.
And to prove his point, he ripped that entire phone book in half to show his dominance.
Dude, this guy was swole. So, Dan O'Bannon? Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's the guy that was in charge of special effects on the Dune movie. And once they finally decided that it was time to quit, after Herbert, I don't know if Herbert shut him down or if Herbert was just kind of like the nail in the coffin that made them realize that this is just not going to happen.
Right.
But Dan O'Bannon, poor guy, went to a psychiatric hospital right after production failed.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Did he end up doing
really
anything?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was getting at. He was after he was released from the psychiatric hospital, he worked on 13 different scripts.
Okay.
Not all at once, I don't think. Maybe. But the last of which became Alien.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. So
there it is.
I guess that's the creative process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that flopped. Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Not Alien, but the original Dune.
Right.
So in 1976, Dino De Laurentiis got the rights from the same film consortium. They still got the rights, and they've blown $2 million on these artists just sitting around blowing smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Dino De Laurentiis, a pretty well-established director at that point, I'm pretty sure. No, he's not a director. He's a producer. A pretty well-established producer at that point, got the rights, and he actually decided he was going to do it right this time, and he commissioned Herbert to write a screenplay.
Okay.
Because took that 14-hour screenplay and threw it in the trash.
Threw it in a big old dumpster fire.
Right in the bloody bin, might.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again. Never to see the light of day.
That's kind of a shame. I mean, I wouldn't like to read it, but
I'd like to hate to read it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's still around. Maybe you can find a copy.
I
don't know. But yeah, so Herbert wrote a screenplay. It was 175 pages long, which equates to about 3 hours. You know, better, I guess, than the 14-hour screenplay.
That's not too off from movie scripts usually.
Well, this was years before Lord of the Rings, but each one of them came in at 3 hours long. So
yeah. Well, no. The scripts are longer, and then they get cut down. They shoot all the scenes, and then they'll
cut out certain scenes.
Cut out the chaff.
Okay, so you would say that a 3-hour script is like a normal size.
Yeah, it's fine. The Batman v Superman script was like 5 hours long.
Jeez. Okay. No wonder that movie sucked.
Yeah. It's like editing our podcast. It's like 3 hours longer than it needs to be, and then we get the funny parts.
All right, so good old Dino got none other than the one and only Ridley Scott to direct this one.
Okay, was this before or after Alien?
This was right after Alien.
Huh. All right.
So Alien had just finished. Ridley Scott riding that high. They got him, Giger, and O'Bannon, the whole Alien team.
Okay.
Just to come on over.
Yeah.
And start working on Alien or Dune.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Because Alien was wildly successful. Dune, the novel, wildly successful. Again, what could go wrong? They got this guy named. I think they actually trashed the Herbert screenplay for some reason. I mean, writing a screenplay and writing a book are two different things, and it'd be great if you could, but I don't think that's. I think that's sort of a pipe dream, to get the author to write the screenplay. So they got this guy named Rudy Wurlitzer to do it. I wasn't really familiar with anything else that he did, but apparently his screenplay was good. He actually wanted him and Scott had decided to split the novel into 2 movies, which seems like a good idea. I mean, you said it yourself. The novel is pretty long.
Yeah.
And they couldn't seem to get it down to a good length originally. So instead of one 14-hour movie, we'll have 2 7-hour movies.
We're getting there. We're closer.
Yeah. But so this was just a classic case of pre-production took too long, about 7 months. So Scott eventually decided that it was just in his best interest to move on to Blade Runner. And so Dune, once again, did not make it to the silver screen.
It's on the back burner.
It's on, something.
It's back in the shelf.
Back in the shelf, yeah. It's like
they kicked it underneath the fridge. They dropped it on the floor and kicked it underneath the fridge.
Actually, that's pretty good. That's a good analogy. The artist dropped it on the floor, and then Ridley Scott was like, he tried to salvage it, so he kicked it in.
Yeah.
All right. Those film rights that Apjack International had purchased so long ago were about to expire in 1981. But Dino De Laurentiis renegotiated the contract, so now he has the film rights and also the rights to any potential sequels, because by this point, Herbert and his son have been writing, and this other guy.
Yeah.
Do you know his name? Because I don't.
No, but I do know that there are Dune sequels.
Yeah, actually his son wrote a lot of the sequels. Kevin J. Anderson.
I didn't know
it was
that.
the other guy. Yeah.
Right.
So by this point, there are other Dune sequels, prequels. There's a whole universe. And so De Laurentiis is like, give me that. So he gets the rights for all of it. And, okay, get this. Honestly, probably the best part of this whole thing, his daughter, Rafaela De Laurentiis, goes to see Elephant Man in the theaters. And she's like, this David Lynch guy, so good.
So good.
He has to direct Dune.
Gotta get him.
Dad, David Lynch needs to direct Dune.
Or I'm walking out.
I'm walking out of this father-daughter
right
relationship that we have. I will no longer be your daughter.
I don't know why. So what time period is this? Like,
this is 1981.
Just about. Okay. Because this is just around when I believe George Lucas also wanted David Lynch for the last Star Wars film as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Lynch had just also been offered to do Return of the Jedi, and I mean, I guess The Elephant Man was really good. I've never seen it.
I have. It's not. That's not like Star Wars at all.
Yeah. Lynch had no interest in doing anything sci-fi. He had never
Yeah.
even read Dune. He didn't know the story. He didn't know anything about it. But he was like, yeah, I'll do Dune. Yeah, apparently Lynch actually created a total of 7 drafts before starting final production, or starting production at all. I don't know how a single film could be so cursed. It's like
Yeah.
this is already like this is already over 20 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. So they actually went through with it this time. They got Toto to do the music for it, so I mean,
Right,
they
yeah.
did something right, I guess. And
Also, wasn't Sting in the
was
movie?
in it, yeah.
They can't help themselves.
They really can't. First you got Salvador Dali, now you got Sting. I don't know, man.
And who else do you like? Michael Jackson? No. Who else do you say it was?
Oh, Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, so they finished the film this time. The guy, actually the star, this was his like debut movie. I don't know his name, but like this is the star's debut in the big silver screen, and but the rest of the cast was kind of an all-star cast. So didn't
Sting
work out
and others
at all. It didn't work out though, because the movie the budget was $40 million. It only made 30.9.
Oh man.
Yeah, just short. If you can
you also
call
have to-
9.9, if you can call $9.1 million just short, then
You also have to double. Usually, you would double the numbers for marketing, so it
oof. Yeah,
would have
I
cost
didn't even
like
think about
80
that.
million. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a movie making less than I don't know. Like, I feel like movies make like 100 million, right? Like, at least
Depends on the movie, really, because the
with
amount
a $40 million budget. I mean,
the amount of money that a movie makes is directly correlated with the amount of marketing that comes out about
that makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
And so a more expensive movie, like a Marvel movie, will get a lot more marketing.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, it just depends on like the clout of the company that it's coming from.
Yeah.
And this was
Also,
Lynch.
you also-
Lynch Films or whatever, De Laurentiis Films or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it. I mean, it crashed at the box office, but Herbert liked it. I mean, he was a big fan.
Hey, and you know what? That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
It's a movie just for him. It's his movie.
It's his movie. Well,
Nobody else gets to touch it.
Well, it ain't Lynch's. He actually denounced it. He disowned the film.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He disowned the film after its
Harmful.
release. He said that the producers restrained his artistic control.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are actually some cuts out there right now that have Alan Smithy listed as the director, which is like the go-to, like the Directors Guild of America.
Oh right.
Whenever
whenever
a director like disowns a film, they'll put Alan Smithy as the in the credits. But we all know who it really was. There's no
he can't
running.
hide from us.
The critics who saw Dune, the 1980s version, said that it if you hadn't read the book, you wouldn't get the plot because they didn't tell you the plot in the movie.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, and they also said that it strayed from the book too much. So I don't know. I don't know where they land in that like middle ground. That like
So it
sort of like
really
Venn
is
diagram.
only a movie for Frank Herbert,
It really is.
because apparently nobody but him would get it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's rough out there. But so what do you know? But in 2000 they did a thing called Frank Herbert's it was called Frank Herbert's Dune, I think. And it was a mini series that came out on Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, all right.
I think it did
Like
okay.
SCYFY?
Yeah, the classic sci-fi. Yeah, the Sci-Fi Channel. And I think it did all right there. I think it actually turned out really well. I don't have any stats on the ratings or anything like that, but I think it set records actually.
Okay, I haven't even heard of it.
Right? Yeah,
If I'm
neither
being
have I.
honest with you.
But I don't know. I mean, yeah, that was 2000s. I mean, Sci-Fi had some traction by then, didn't it? I don't know. So I guess good on them. Anyway, so 2008. Fast forward through time. 2008. Paramount Pictures gets the rights to make a Dune film again.
All right.
They get Peter Berg to direct it. I didn't recognize anything else that he'd done. but he had some films under his belt, so they get a nice established director for this one. They get so Kevin Meisher, the guy that was in charge of all this, had apparently spent like years trying to get the rights from the Herbert estate. They were just like holding on to it because they didn't want another disaster.
Okay.
They didn't want them to hire Sting again.
The movies that Peter Berg did are stupid. Anyway.
Okay,
sorry,
yeah.
Not to cut you off.
No, that's fine because I didn't recognize any of them. So good to know that I'm not missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, apparently Peter decided to make a more faithful adaptation.
Oh, of course.
Right. Yeah. So they, what did they do? But make the same mistake as before. They got Herbert's son. Herbert's passed away by this point. They got Herbert's son, Kevin J. Anderson, the other guy who had written some Dune sequels, to be advisors. They weren't writing the screenplay this time, which is good. They were just advisors. Yeah, so October 2009, Berg leaves the film, saying it wasn't the right thing for him. They got this new guy named Pierre Morel. They hired him in 2010, but he quit by November of that year.
Wow.
I don't know how this film can be so cursed. 2011, Paramount was like, "This isn't going too well," and they just kicked it right back under that fridge. So I don't know. I guess that would have been the second Dune movie, but it didn't turn out too well. But in 2016, a third attempt. I guess, I don't know. What are we on? Like the 18th attempt by this point?
Something like that.
Yeah. Legendary.
I have notches. I have notches carved into my
your
desk
bedpost?
for every Dune movie. Yeah.
Got notches carved in my lipstick case.
Come on.
2016, Legendary gets the rights to it, and they get David Villeneuve to direct it. Canadian
Wait,
director.
say it again.
David Villeneuve.
Huh. I always said Villeneuve.
I would because Nueve. I always said Villeneuve, but I looked up the pronunciation, and it's Villeneuve.
Okay.
Villeneuve.
All right.
Yeah. And so David Villeneuve will direct it. He directed Sicario and Blade Runner 2049. So
yeah, good movies. And he did Arrival. Yeah,
I've never seen that one.
Right?
I've seen Sicario and Blade Runner, and I really enjoyed them. So I'm excited for this guy. I'm excited for this movie. They got Eric Roth to write the screenplay. This guy wrote the screenplay for Forrest Gump and Benjamin Button. So
wow, all right.
I don't see the connection, but
me neither.
Him, I don't know. He's good. They're doing the two film thing again. So this one's getting chopped into half, which I think is the smart play. It's a long book. It's not like The Hobbit, which got chopped into 3 films for no reason. Yeah, so I guess good on them. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd did the music in the first, or they were going to do the music for the very first one, where they got all these other like prog rock bands, like ones that you've never heard of. All right, this is bad. Let's move on to your thing. No, it's good.
Okay, we can talk about my thing. Glenn, I want to talk about Ready Player One with you. I've been dying to talk to you about Ready Player One.
Me too, Vincent. There's nothing that I want more than to speak with you about Ready Player One.
Glenn, do you remember Ready Player One?
Oh, boy, do I.
I was trying to think about this, because I was looking at the numbers, like how the movie did. I'm talking about Ready Player One was a book written by Ernest Cline that was adapted to a 2018 movie directed by Steven Spielberg. I'm just getting the basics out there.
That was directed by Steve Spielberg?
Oh, yeah, Stevie Spiels himself.
My favorite.
No, it's a sad state of... Well, first off, like half the references in that movie are his references, so... take that how you will. Were we working at the movie theater when this movie came out? Because I remember... I was looking at the numbers, and it was like, it did really well in its first week, but by week 2, it slipped behind, like, The Quiet Place and Blockers. Remember the movie Blockers?
Blockers.
It's like, and those movies were, because I remember
those were out while we were there, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember Ready Player One being out when we were there.
Right. It may have been when we just started, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter. There was a whole time when
I didn't see it in theater, even though
me neither.
We were working there and I would have got it free. I saw it at so I saw it with Philip actually. His school does like a what is it called? Like, like a free like a student movie,
Okay.
I think you pay like $2 and you can see like a double feature or something like that.
At like his high school or his college?
His college.
Okay.
And it's just like a fun little thing. And so I go to see those sometimes with him. And one time it was Ready Player One. And you know what? Disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah, I saw it on TV. But the thing was, there was like a period of YouTube for like a couple months when just everything was dedicated to Ready Player One. It was all just Ready Player One content, like hot takes on Ready Player One, or
yeah.
Here's all of the Easter eggs. Here's all like 120.
Gosh.
Here's all 300
Every
Easter eggs.
time they said an '80s reference.
Yeah, here's every reference.
You mean just
in Ready
the
Player
movie?
One.
Like, if you wanted to show if you were going to show like a top 10 list of all the '80s references, you would just play the movie.
Yeah, dude, I mean, literally, I tried reading the book. Like, I gave the first chapter a try in preparing for this bit.
Okay.
And I was like, it's like reading through a list of references.
Really?
It's like so dense.
Really?
It's
Now that's interesting because I have friends who like the book.
Yeah.
But those
I
are
don't
also
know,
the kinds of
man.
friends who make references and
See,
expect me
that's
to
the
laugh.
thing. Here's my problem with this book, or this movie, and I will get into its production, I swear, but like...
No, we just want to hate on it for the rest of the show.
You know, I tried reading the book and I didn't like it, and I tried going through the Spark Notes, to see like, let me
Does
at
it
least
get
get a sense of the difference of the movie, and it's not that
The
different.
difference is that the characters are attractive.
They change which references are where or whatever, but like it's same premise, and like that's my problem with it, because I know in my heart of hearts that this movie is like supposed to be for me,
Okay.
but I cannot bring myself to enjoy it.
Because you're like a VR guy.
Well, even more than that, I do appreciate popular culture. I
I'm
like
straightening your
making
ass
references.
right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me, one of the things I was considering doing instead of reading through all the Spark Notes, because even those were incredibly boring, was like watching all those old hot take videos from YouTube back in 2018. But even I didn't want to end up like regurgitating somebody else's opinion on the podcast.
Like me and
so
Captain
I was thinking long and hard about like a metaphor for how I feel about
Okay.
Ready Player One.
Okay,
I've settled
so you
on
got some like
something.
poetry for me?
I got some absolute poetry
So-
back when I was working on the movie theater, and it probably wasn't that first summer where Ready Player One was out. It was probably the year after that. But KFC released something called like the Mac and Cheetos, like a Cheeto collab. No, Mac and Cheetos was Burger King. They released some Cheetos collab where it was like a chicken sandwich, like a KFC fried chicken sandwich dipped in cheese with like Cheetos on top, and like mac and cheese Cheetos on the side, and cheese chicken nuggets. And it's so horrible just saying that out loud, but
It physically hurt me, Vincent.
physically hurt to say out of my mouth, but it was 100% made for monsters like me, people that would hear that and go, yeah,
Aren't you lactose intolerant?
Yes. And that's the thing. It's like, this is an awful thing that they've created, but
Reared its
I
ugly
can't
head.
help myself. It's,
Vincent, do I need
and
to
so
call
I
like
ate
a-
it anyway, and it made me horribly ill.
I can't imagine why.
And that's the best way I could summarize how I feel about Ready Player One, because I know that the corporate overlords that decided that this movie needed to be made were like, this is made for people like Vincent.
They've got like steeple fingers and they're like tapping them together. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know this movie affected you so viscerally. We joke about it all the time because it's funny and bad, but I didn't know that it hurt you in this way, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry,
Harry
Steve.
Potter.
I'm sorry, Steven Spielberg betrayed you that way.
I was about to make a reference to Harry Potter, and then I realized I would just be doing a Ready Player One.
Please make a reference to Harry Potter. Well, no, that's
Okay.
that's a '90s reference, so you're fine.
In Harry Potter, the things that turn into your fear or whatever.
Yeah, the Dementors.
It's like they're in that box.
Yeah.
No, is it Dementors that do
Yes.
that? I don't
Yes, they are
remember.
called Dementors.
Anyway, they turn into your fear. I feel like if a Dementor saw inside of my psyche and saw what my greatest fear was, it would be the film Ready Player One, and that's why that movie exists. Anyway, I'm going to go the rest of the movie without referencing pop culture because I don't want to be Ready Player One anymore.
Head empty, no thoughts. All right, I'm free of all pop culture. I'm free of all culture. I'm a blank slate at this point.
Yeah, what else is new? Oh, I couldn't. I could not take that. So listen, there isn't that much of a story behind the creation of Ready Player One. There was like a Screen Rant article
Your favorite.
that I thought was interesting. When I clicked on it, it said why Ready Player One took 8 years to make, and it's like, well, you look at it.
That's how long movies take, idiot.
Yeah, that's just, this year they decided Steven Spielberg should be attached, and at this point they made a script, and at this point they had actors, and that's just a normal movie production. Anyway, so the book Ready Player One by Ernest Cline was released in 2011, but what I thought was super interesting about the development more than anything else was the fact that the film rights to this book were sold in 2010, like a full year before the book even came out.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
have you heard of this before?
No. So the guy wrote the book intending for it to be turned into a movie.
Exactly. But it's like worse than that because... So I looked into this because that wrinkled my brain. That absolutely baffled me that people would want to buy the rights to a movie, like the movie rights to a book that like nobody's read yet and nobody knows if it will be successful. I did a little bit of digging. I got a couple examples that are similar to that. And the reason is because like film rights are so competitive now that everybody wants to get it, before other companies buy it. Makes sense. Whatever. So a couple of other examples of movies where that has happened are like Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. But the thing about that is that was Michael Crichton's like fifth book. He was a well-established author.
Yeah, totally.
Same thing with World War Z, Max Brooks.
Right.
He had written plenty of other movies or books before that. People know who Max Brooks is, and they know that they felt confident that this new book would be success in movie form. Also, Hidden Figures by Margaret Lee Shelterly. She had never written anything else before. But like the book itself is somewhat biographical because she's like the daughter of one of the women that she's writing about, basically.
Okay.
I looked into Ernest Cline. The dude like wrote some slam poetry in the 90s, but Ready Player One is his debut novel.
Oh my gosh.
So how did this happen?
Did the producer, were they just buds? Was he like, hey, can you turn my book into a movie? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
I feel like that has to be part of it, but I also feel like, and this really like starts boiling my blood deep down inside, that like his pitch was so good that they felt like they had to take up this movie. And that's the thing, because the pitch of this book is like, it's like Second Life VR, but it's just chock full of references.
But
references.
Simulation
we're doing
has
references.
been done so well in so many other things, and we're just gonna ruin it.
We're just gonna do that, but there's like, hey, remember the 80s? We're gonna do a hey, remember the 80s movie.
Yeah, and none of the cool simulation tropes that you see in anything else. Well, that's not true. They did do the scene where they had a guy still in simulation when he thought he was in the real world, and that's kind of cool. But they didn't last as long, and it wasn't.
No.
I don't know. It's like
I don't think Ernest Cline cares about that.
Yeah.
That's not what his whole scene is. And I'm like reading through his like interviews and stuff, and he's just like, yeah, I'm a dork, I'm a geek, I like pop culture.
Yeah. I see. Like here, he says that he based the character Wade off of a mix of his geek friends.
Yeah. Actually, I
can totally see that. Like
all his. If you look at all the inspiration, I was gonna have a segment about like how the characters in the show or in the movie and book got their name, but like it's all just like, yeah, it's like my friend, it's like my geek friend, or it's like, it's from this one, it's like a reference. Anyway, I just felt like that whole thing with the pitch just tells me that like how out of touch all these executives are, where they can hear, oh yeah, Funko Pops are hot right now. Let's make a movie that's just entirely Funko Pops merchandise.
Funko Pops instead.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, I will continue to get into how the film was made. But
Hey, wait,
a lot
can
of
I ask this?
yeah.
How did all of the characters get like usernames that with no numbers in them, except for Artemis?
No, Artemis has a 3
Artemis
in
has
it.
a 3, but none of the other ones do. Were they like?
They did it,
and they're like kids, right? Like the Oasis came out before they were kids, right? Before they were born,
something like that.
So all of those users had to have already been taken.
No, and you know what? I'll tell you what. The fact that what's his name? Ernest Klein. I just said it. I have it written down.
The author?
Ernest Klein. Yeah.
Yeah.
The it really seems like Ernest Klein has no idea how the internet works, and that's a good example of nobody can just get like one of the characters' name is Shoto, and what's the other one? Daito. Those are just Japanese words, and they're well-known Japanese words. They would absolutely be taken already, you know? Like, and also, as you
the
go
shorter
through
sword
the story,
out of a Daisho set.
there are no furries in Ready Player One.
Unfortunately.
There's no, like, as far as we can tell, there's no weird sex stuff. He's never been on the internet. If you were to make, I mean, I've played Second Life. I know what this is like.
Yeah.
And it's not like Ready Player One. I'll tell you what.
It's not
like
80s.
the Oasis.
It's not all 80s all the time.
No. It isn't.
If anything, it's all 90s
weird sex.
all the time. Oh.
I mean, same thing, right?
Yeah,
same
basically.
hat.
Well, and like they had the in-app purchases, then they would deliver something to you in real life, but you spend your in-game money. Like, what?
I kind of wanted to. This is in my notes later, but man, this game sucks.
Dude, no, it's the worst. I would never play this.
It's so
game.
bad. It's like. I get what he's going for, and if this exists in a hypothetical world where everybody just cares about 80s references,
Mm-hmm.
I can see it being successful. But if we can talk about the gameplay for a second, the gameplay is spend real life money to look like Buckaroo Banzai.
Right.
Spend your real life money to buy a car that looks like the Mystery
DeLorean.
Machine from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And then just drive to work, and then go to work and do work.
He goes to school in the game.
That sucks.
Like,
that's a bad game.
Like there's Minecraft Earth, or what is it? The Minecraft Education Edition.
Oh yeah, but still, it's
Vincent, we're like already halfway there.
Man, I don't know.
But it's like yeah. And then they have like shooters that you can play, and it's like you're still your avatar, the same avatar you've always been using. So you know that everyone's avatar would just be a single vertex. Because if the shooters have real life money or real life spendable money, even if it's in-game money, involved as the stakes, then everyone's avatar is just going to be as small as possible.
No, you're right. I was thinking about this too, because like there's no. If this is an independently owned game that's like like the internet or whatever, nobody's taking charge of it. Where's the moderation?
Yeah,
who's
for sure.
If you can just create items and then sell them.
It's like Bitcoin. It's like
Bitcoin. You're right. Yeah. But it's like if you can create in-game items that you sell for real money, and then you can just buy the Hadouken from Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't I just go, yeah, so I've made a, here it is, here's my item, it's a button that you can just press and it kills everyone, and it's $1.
Right, yeah.
Because nobody can stop me.
No, that I don't remember. They actually can make items and sell them?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the one character, she works as an automotive repair person.
Right.
For these
she has
fake
a job.
cars.
Yeah,
Yeah, she has a job, and it's like, what is she doing? Coding?
It's like very unclear. Or is the physics is the physics engine just so like precise that they're modeling every single particle in the engine?
People are being paid money for goods and services. And so if that's how things work, who's monitoring it? Why can't I just create the best thing,
Yeah.
For $0. Nobody would be able to stop me.
And even if it was a perfect simulation, even if they weren't like coding anything, like you had to, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like even if they were modeling every single particle, and you could theoretically, and you have to make things out of materials, then it would be no different than just living in the real world.
Yeah.
It would be just as dystopian as the real one.
That's the thing, Ernest Klein. If I wanted to dress like Buckaroo Banzai and drive a cool car to my job, I could just do that in real life.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, most people don't do the high risk, high reward stuff because there are actual real life stakes. Nobody does the fun stuff
Yeah.
that, you know,
What's the point in
there
playing
are
a game
consequences
then?
to. Yeah.
I mean,
bad game.
I understand that, like, the point of this book is that, like, at this point in time, the game is real life. And so everyone's kind of moved in. But how did it get there is what is kind of where it breaks apart, in my opinion.
Yeah. I can talk about a couple other, like,
Let's talk
development
about,
things.
Is there any? Yeah. That's what we're here for.
I thought something that could be like tangential to our time traveling gamer consultant bit. How would you make the Oasis a good game? You know, because it's like,
Oh gosh.
it's a
Okay.
good name. I'll
I'm
give them
not-
that. It's
are we doing
evocative,
time
but-
travel? Are we time traveling into the
No,
future?
no. It's not the same thing. We're just let's pitch a better game.
Okay. So
Something that actually has
in-game
gameplay.
in-game purchases,
that isn't
yeah,
just
gameplay. That's
going to
good.
work.
So here's the thing. It's actually this is good because we're hitting on like an important thing, which is like the problem with MMORPGs in general is that they don't have gameplay so often. There are good ones that do. World of Warcraft is one that I can think of off the top of my head, and that's because, but it's a subscription game because they have to keep
Yeah.
adding new content. You have to keep paying for it, and oh gosh, the people that got addicted to World of Warcraft and RuneScape and stuff like that, it's pretty scary.
I mean, you've seen there's like documentaries about Second Life.
I don't know that much about Second Life. Is that like a VR one?
No, it's not VR, but it's, you know, MapleStory and World of Warcraft are at least set within a world, whereas
Second Life is like a
Second
real
Life
world.
is just
Okay,
real
so that's
life,
step
and
one.
You just actually buy a house.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so
Yeah.
like that's step one is you have a fantastical world that this takes place in. Don't try to make this is the final video game where everyone can play whatever they
Yeah.
want. Try to
Yeah.
just give it a theme.
Less microtransactions, because I feel like that's the entire gameplay
Stick
of
the
the Oasis.
Stick the transactions to aesthetics. And this is about Ready Player One or the Oasis. In principle, as long as the only things you can pay for are aesthetics, then you're fine.
But we still don't know what the, like, for gameplay, what if it's just, you know that VR game that's like you just play board games?
Tabletop sim?
Yeah, tabletop sim. What if it's tabletop sim, but you can play against a Battletoad, or you can play against, you know, Buckaroo Banzai or
What?
or Deadpool or whatever. You know, it's like,
It's like
that's
tabletop
the
sim,
gameplay.
but you can make your own skins.
Yeah.
So it's a furry sim.
Well, it's something.
Okay, so
It's
people
better than
so
nothing.
people can't upload their own skins.
No,
Good.
not at all.
I don't know. I'm not sure about. I think you should like stick to a like a world. Like maybe it's maybe you could go for the GTA thing where you're like a dude, you know, and you just like stealing stuff and stuff like that. Or we could go for like the space cowboy. That's one that I've always wanted to make, is like a just like an open world space cowboy adventure, like Firefly or Han Solo. I don't know, whatever.
But see, we're back to creating worlds without gameplay. We need
No, that's what I'm saying. Like you'd have like missions and like things that you do, like World of Warcraft had dungeons that you would go in and explore with your friends, and then like you would party up with your friends and then go into the dungeon and explore it, and it would be like any other dungeoning game. But when you're in the overworld, you can meet everyone. So you know.
Well, okay. How about this?
Okay, how about this?
Just
Don't
like,
have an egg that you need to drive backwards to get.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's step one, because we have a lot of step ones. We have a lot. So this is like
Yep.
step 1A, B, C, D. This is like
Okay.
one of the subtitles of step one is, if you're gonna have an Easter egg, and all you have to do to find it is drive backwards, and somebody's gonna find it instantly.
Yeah, that's the worst one by far.
What were the other ones?
One of them is you have to recite all of the lines from the movie War Games, which a lot of people are just able to do
Also,
in this
if
universe.
this is a movie, you can just copy and paste.
Yeah. So that was actually one of the things that was changed in the book. A lot of the pre-production stuff has to do with like the adaptation making it more visually interesting, because a lot of the challenges are just play Pac-Man until you get the glitch part of Pac-Man, you know, where it like world ends. Or reciting all the lines from Matthew Broderick movies like that. Those suck.
They're pretty bad.
Those wouldn't be good to see in movie form. Like I was saying, it's mostly rights issues that made the development difficult. I have a couple examples. For example, the final battle in the movie, you know, there's it's the Iron Giant, and he's stomping around and he's shooting lasers, even though the whole point of the Iron Giant is that he's not a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was supposed to be Ultraman. In the book, it's Ultraman, like the Japanese character. But I think it was a rights issue because like Netflix had like a reboot in the works at the same time, so they couldn't nab that. In that same vein, they were like negotiating with Warner Brothers because they wanted to use the Close Encounters with the Third Kind like ship, and they couldn't get the rights to that one, even though Spielberg is the director of Close Encounters with the Third Kind. He couldn't get the rights to them.
Okay.
Which, yeah, is a shame, I think. There is a lot of weird, like, self-referential stuff in this movie. They'll
make a Ready Player 1 2, or Ready Player 2, where they just
that's the thing, there is a sequel.
Ready Player 1 the whole time.
Yeah, the Ernest Cline is actually working on a sequel, and it will almost certainly be called Ready Player 2.
Well, they can't call it Ready Player 1 2.
Yeah. Anyway, there's one more thing I want to talk about with Ready Player One. The other big change that I found the most interesting was that in the book there was like a lot to do with Blade Runner. I think there was a whole bit set in the world of Blade Runner, but because 2049 was like in the development process as well at the same time, they weren't allowed to touch it, like any of that IP. So instead, they went with The Shining. Remember that whole thing about The Shining in the movie?
Yeah, it was like an abnormally large part of the movie.
So that wasn't in the book at all, and so that's another thing for me, because it's like I really like The Shining, you know. It's my favorite movie, and so the fact that this movie, that Ready Player One, was like, hey, remember The Shining? I'm like, yes, of course I remember The Shining. That doesn't mean I'm gonna like you for it.
Yeah.
Something interesting I thought with the creation of that, because they basically they digitally recreated the Outlook Hotel, and then that's how they were able to get like shots that looked like the Overlook Hotel, and from angles that were never seen in the original movie. They reused some of the footage, but then
it's a real hotel, isn't it?
Yeah, like, but it doesn't exist in that way anymore.
Right, but they could have gotten like they could have used that as the basis for rendering it in 3D in a simulation.
I mean, they probably did that, yeah. But the other part of this was well, so the thing was that they worked with the team. Remember that movie Doctor Sleep? That was like the sequel to The Shining?
Yes.
Because movies were in production at the same time, they worked with the Doctor Sleep team they worked together to create this digital set using Doctor Sleep's practical effects.
And they wanted trying to was it like a mutually beneficial thing where they were trying to help gain steam for Doctor Sleep?
I don't know about that.
Get everyone excited about The Shining before Doctor Sleep came out.
I don't know. Nobody saw Doctor Sleep, so it obviously didn't work. But it was more just like both of those films. Even though I don't like Ready Player One, I mean, it was faithful to The Shining. You know, like Spielberg was friends with Kubrick. You know, and so they even they isolated the film grain from the Shining, and they put that same film grain over Ready Player One during that segment to make it look more realistic. Yeah, I mean, it's...
See, that's what a cool VR MMO would be for, I feel like, is less about this kind of gameplay and more about you could just make the aesthetics. World look like if you wanted to, you could just make the world look like The Shining with that film grain. But I don't know if that would be, but that's not really an MMO. That's more of just a VR experience with your friends kind of thing.
Right. And those games do exist, but it's like an on rails, just look at all this cool stuff.
Yeah. It's it's a tech demo. Basically.
Makes sense. Anyway, one final thing. There was a really small section in the wiki article that I thought was very funny. The wiki article was full of typos. It was just inconsistencies and typos and stuff. And it just caught me off guard because I'd never seen that in a wiki before. You know, people talk about how like wiki is unreliable, and it's like, no, it's not. I've never seen like a mistake in it. But
most of them are written by like scholars. Yeah.
Yeah. This one wasn't. I can say pretty succinctly. I
read a wiki article not too long ago, and I was like absolutely certain it was written by the people it was about.
Oh, totally. I'm sure that happens for like smaller things like that.
Yeah, it was like an indie dev company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna call them out, but it was really funny.
Anyway, there's a really small section in the wiki article that talks about a Roblox event that coincided with the film release. And I'm sure there's plenty of stuff like this, you know, that happened all over. But for some reason, whoever wrote the wiki article was like, we got to talk about what they did with Roblox. There was like, so what they did was they set up the whole Easter egg hunt in a Roblox world, and then you would go through it, and the first person that won got this like cool new like cosmetic thing that's like wings, but the wings are the keys from the movie.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, major props to Roku, R0CU on Roblox for being the first person to complete that. So I have a sneaking suspicion he wrote that segment of the thing, because why else would it be in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, props to Roku. Good job.
Yeah.
I am envious. Maybe what we want is just Roblox. Maybe that's how Oasis gets better. It's just VR Roblox.
I feel like I would have liked Roblox if I played it.
In VR? Yeah.
No, just like at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like as a kid, is that another subscription one?
I think so. No, it's probably free. Otherwise, not as many kids would have it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I remember when I first got Minecraft, and I was just like, "Oh, this is the final game. There will be no other games after this because I can do whatever I want."
Yeah. It's a shame we couldn't make Oasis a better game, but maybe it was always meant to suck shit.
Minecraft.
Yeah.
Maybe that niche is already filled with, you know, real life.
How was Ernest supposed to know that he was just making worse Minecraft?
I don't know.
Folks, I think that's the show. So if you want to reach out to us, our email is developmentheaven@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you like the show, let us know. You can do that via Twitter @DevHevPod. Also linked down below is our Discord, where we're very active. Come and hang out with us. Send us some show ideas. You might get your name in the show.
So Glenn, thank you for the intro music. The song is called Bird. It's on SoundCloud. That's linked below.
Also linked are Matthew Inney and Natalie Quick. Matthew did some of our various logos, and Natalie did some great work on our cover, so thank you to them, and thank you to you for listening.
Leave a review. We are...
We're everywhere, baby. All around.
Yeah, we're all over the place. You can't get away from us.
So why try? You like that? Is that a good...
Yeah, that was alright.
Alright.
We still don't have a closer, like a real, the thing you say at the end of every episode.
Why don't we just end every episode with a big smack, like...